Caitlin Clark's record-breaking rise was supposed to be a turning point for women's basketball, not the start of a breakdown. But with the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement set to expire, the league is now staring down a lockout that could wipe out the 2026 season entirely. The urgency isn't hypothetical. It's immediate, and the consequences would be catastrophic.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
Owners and players are locked in a bitter standoff, each side refusing to budge, while the league teeters on the edge. And at the center of it all is Clark, the player who revived viewership, sold out arenas, and brought millions to sport, now caught in a power struggle that threatens everything she helped build. A lockout now wouldn't just pause the game. It would erase the momentum Clark ignited. The surge in media attention, investment, and cultural relevance is fragile, and time isn't on the league side. If the dispute drags on, rival leagues stand ready to poach talent, and fans who just showed up might never come back. Expansion plans could crumble. Sponsors could pull out, and the sport's biggest moment in decades could turn into its most regrettable misstep. The longer the standoff lasts, the clearer it becomes. This isn't just a contract fight. It's a gamble with the future of women's basketball. And just like that, the tension that had been quietly simmering under the surface exploded into the open. Caitlin Clark has confirmed the unthinkable. She's suing Cathy Engelbert, the commissioner of the WNBA. Yes, that just happened. This isn't some rumor. It's not a leaked document or a veiled threat. It's real, public, direct, and it's detonated right in the middle of what may be the most fragile moment in WNBA history. Let's not pretend this came out of nowhere. The conflict has been building for months, escalated behind closed doors as the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement inches toward expiration. The league and its players are locked in a dead-end negotiation that could result in a full-on lockout. And now, with this lawsuit, the battle lines aren't just drawn. They've been spray-painted across the court. The timing? Absolutely devastating. The 2026 season is hanging by a thread. If the CBA talks fail, the entire season could be canceled. Gone. Just like that. And that would mean halting all the momentum the league's been riding thanks to Clark. Record-breaking viewership, sold-out arenas, massive sponsorships, and a wave of new fans who are finally tuning in. This isn't just about a labor dispute anymore. This is about the future of the WNBA. And Clark's lawsuit? That just lit the fuse. Because, let's be clear, Caitlin Clark is the moment. Her arrival has reshaped the league's relevance, market value, and visibility. She's not just a player. She's a brand, a force, a cultural shift. And now, instead of capitalizing on that once-in-a-generation momentum, the WNBA is imploding under the weight of its own refusal to evolve. The league is finally profitable, finally expanding, finally in the spotlight. And now, it's about to lose everything over greed. The central issue? Money, power, control, owners, flush with new revenue, don't want to share. Players, rightfully demanding fair compensation, aren't backing down. The result? Total gridlock. Both sides are refusing to blink. And the clock is ticking toward midnight with no agreement in place. Clark's lawsuit makes this fight deeply personal. It's no longer just a labor negotiation. It's a referendum on leadership, a direct challenge to Engelbert's decisions, her management of the league, and her handling of Clark's explosive rise. And let's not forget, this isn't some petty dispute over a contract clause. This is about ownership versus players, power versus progress, and a league that may be actively choosing to self-destruct at the height of its success. Canceling the 2026 season would be a catastrophic setback, not just for the WNBA, but for women's sports as a whole. Clark's influence brought millions of new eyes to the game. She made women's basketball mainstream. And now, that fragile momentum could be wiped out overnight. You cannot grow a league while simultaneously refusing to support the players who drive its success. And yet, that's exactly what's happening. The refusal to fairly compensate players, especially when a league is finally generating money, sends one message. Ownership is more interested in maintaining control than creating a sustainable future. That short-sighted greed could cost them everything. Because here's the truth. Clark is not the only star considering her options. Other top players are watching this unfold in real time, weighing whether to jump ship to rival leagues. And guess what? Those leagues are ready. They're offering better pay, better conditions, and less drama. If this lockout hits, don't expect every star to wait around for a resolution. The talent pool could fracture permanently. Leagues like Unrivaled are circling. They smell blood in the water. And if Clark or any major name chooses to walk, the WNBA's entire foundation starts to collapse. Compilation, this isn't theoretical. This is imminent. And expansion franchises like Portland and Toronto, they've invested millions based on the assumption that Clark's star power would carry into 2026. A lockout kills that on impact. Those new markets, those eager fan bases, those long-awaited launches, all of it could vanish. The stakes? Higher than they've ever been. Clark suing the commissioner only sharpens the urgency. It puts a face and a name on what's been whispered for weeks, that the leadership at the top is out of touch, unwilling to compromise, and gambling with the very soul of the league. And it's not just the league's internal future at risk. It's public trust. New fans who are finally tuning in because of Clark, they won't wait forever. A canceled season could alienate casual viewers for good. And the damage that does to ratings, sponsorships, and credibility, you don't recover from that easily. Clark's popularity is massive, but even her impact has limits. A lockout doesn't just stall her career. It risks undermining the entire cultural shift she helped ignite. She's been the most consistent, bankable reason the league stayed in headlines. But she cannot carry a league that refuses to carry itself. And that's what's so staggering about this whole situation. For the first time in years, women's basketball had momentum. Actual, undeniable momentum. And now, we're watching the very institutions that benefited most from that growth do everything in their power to ruin it. Because when push comes to shove, they're choosing profits over people. And if that sounds familiar, that's because it's the same mistake that's destroyed sports leagues before. Clark is not just defending herself in this lawsuit. She's defending the future of the league. She's calling out the negligence that threatens everything the WNBA claims to stand for. And if Engelbert thought this would stay quiet, she seriously miscalculated. This lawsuit has thrown gasoline on a fire that was already out of control. Now, every press conference, every game, every executive decision will be framed through this new lens of mistrust, mismanagement, and missed opportunities. Clark didn't just file paperwork. She sent a message. And now, the question isn't will there be a lockout? The question is, can the league survive one? Because if the WNBA loses 2026, it's not just losing a season. It's risking its identity, its trajectory, its relationship with fans. The world was finally watching. Now, they're watching this chaos unfold instead. Clark's legal move is risky but necessary, because clearly polite conversations behind the scenes weren't working. And if the only way to force transparency and accountability is through litigation, so be it. It should have never gotten this far. But here we are. The league stands at crossroads and has two options: evolve or implode, work with the players who made you relevant, or alienate them permanently, secure your future, or sabotage it in the name of power. Clark chose to fight. What will the league choose? If you've been watching this disaster build and can't believe it's gotten this far, drop a comment below. Like this video if you think players deserve more than lip service and last-minute deals. And share it with someone who still believes this league can be saved. If the right people start listening, make sure you're subscribed, because this is far from over. And the next chapter? It's going to be explosive. The silence coming from the top should terrify everyone who cares about the future of women's basketball. The league's highest profile player just confirmed she's taking legal action against the commissioner, and the WNBA's leadership is responding with nothing. No press conference. No formal statement. No emergency sit-down with the media to calm the storm. Just the cold hum of corporate apathy while everything burns around them. And that's exactly the problem. This moment could have been avoided. Long before lawsuits. Long before threats of lockouts. Long before the CBA expiration turned into a ticking time bomb. The warning signs weren't subtle. Players were vocal. Fans were engaged. Industry analysts were sounding alarms. Caitlin Clark herself was drawing attention to the imbalance, between what the players give and what the owners take. But instead of stepping in to fix it, Cathy Engelbert and the league's brass decided to ride the wave of Clark's popularity without protecting the woman who created it. They saw dollar signs, not a legacy in the making. They treated her like a tool, not a partner. And now that tool is fighting back, with legal paperwork, national headlines, and the full weight of public opinion on her side. Let's be real. This isn't a typical player versus league argument over minor perks or slightly better travel arrangements. This is a battle over survival, over who controls the direction of a league that's been dragged into profitability by the very players now being told to sit down, shut up, and accept whatever crumbs are offered. And Clark's not accepting that. She's calling it what it is: greed, mismanagement, and sabotage wrapped in a PR-friendly bow. Compilation 2. The facts are brutal. The WNBA finally reached profitability after years of struggling in the shadow of men's sports. Clark was the engine of that rise. Ticket sales surged. Broadcast deals were renegotiated. Sponsorship money rolled in. Expansion teams were greenlit based on the assumption that this momentum would last. And now, it's all at risk of collapsing. One lockout could wipe out the entire 2026 season, and with it, the attention span of millions of fans who just arrived. The same fans who bought jerseys, paid for season tickets, watched games on national television for the first time ever, are now being told, we might not be here next year because the grown-ups in charge couldn't figure out how to share. That's not just bad business. It's a betrayal, and it's not just about Clark. Her lawsuit is a match, but the fuel has been there for years. Star players across the league have been sounding the same alarms: unfair compensation, lack of transparency, disrespectful scheduling, bare minimum facilities. And now, with the league at its peak, those issues are still unresolved. Instead of being celebrated, Clark is being litigated, not by the courts, but by the very structure of the league itself. One that continues to treat its players like liabilities, even when they're the entire reason the lights are on. The truth is, the WNBA leadership didn't want to share control. Clark, with her record-breaking viewership, corporate power, and cultural dominance, became too big too fast. And instead of seeing that as a blessing, they saw it as a threat, a disruption, a spotlight they couldn't control. So they started chipping away at her power. Quietly at first. No real marketing push. Questionable officiating. Then came the benching narratives. Then the cold interactions behind the scenes. And now we have legal documents. Clark didn't make this personal. The league did. And the irony is painful. The WNBA spent decades begging for mainstream attention, for cultural relevance, for someone to come along and break through. Caitlin Clark did exactly that. And now they're risking the entire league to keep her from owning the space she helped build. You'd think with so much on the line, broadcast deals, expansion markets, partnerships, millions in potential revenue, the people in charge would be desperate to avoid collapse. You'd think they'd sit down, compromise, meet the players halfway, protect the future. Instead, they're gambling it all. Over what? A bigger share of profits that only exist because of the very players they're squeezing. And the math doesn't lie. If the lockout hits, the damage won't just be seasonal. It'll be systemic. Fans will walk. Sponsors will vanish. New expansion teams like Portland and Toronto, their inaugural seasons could be wiped off the map. Cities that were promised a new era of basketball could be left with nothing. And that's not something you rebuild easily. Momentum isn't permanent. You don't get a do-over on lightning in a bottle cultural moments. And right now, the WNBA is smashing that bottle with a hammer. What Clark's doing, suing the commissioner, speaking out, refusing to back down. It's bold, it's risky, and it's absolutely necessary. Because no one else was willing to challenge the machine. And whether you love her or criticize her, you can't deny this. She's exposing the cracks in a system that has failed its players at every major turning point. If the leadership won't listen to their stars, maybe they'll listen to their lawyers. Maybe they'll listen to fans. Maybe they'll finally look in the mirror and realize what's at stake. Because this isn't just about losing a player. This is about losing a movement. Clark represents more than points on a scoreboard. She's the face of a generation of athletes who won't play by broken rules anymore, Who won't stay quiet while their labor is exploited? Who won't let a league celebrate them publicly and degrade them privately? And Cathy Engelbert? She's about to find out that silence isn't strength, it's surrender. The players want fairness. The fans want transparency. The league wants control. Something has to give. And if the commissioner thinks she can weather the storm by ignoring it, by dragging out negotiations, stonewalling reporters, and hoping the lawsuit fades into background noise, she's wildly underestimating who she's dealing with. Caitlin Clark is not just a player. She's a movement with legal standing. Compilation, this moment is bigger than one game. It's bigger than one lawsuit. It's a test of what this league is going to be. A platform for greatness, or a case study in self-destruction. Because one season lost might just become one league lost. And if the WNBA lets that happen, if they throw away everything they've gained, if they sideline their stars, if they put ego over equity and greed over growth, they deserve every bit of fallout that's coming. Clark's lawsuit isn't the problem. It's the alarm bell. And whether the league chooses to answer it will define the next decade of women's basketball. At this point, if you're still clinging to the idea that this is just a minor labor dispute, you're not paying attention. This is a full-blown crisis, one that's ripping to the league from the inside out. The WNBA is standing on the edge of a cliff, and the people in charge are acting like they don't even notice the ground crumbling beneath them. Caitlin Clark didn't want to be here. She wanted to hoop. She wanted to do what she does best, draw crowds, break records, and turn women's basketball into a headline sport. But instead of building with her, the league's leadership built walls around her, quietly, deliberately, and then forcefully when she wouldn't play small. Now, she's not just playing offense on the court, she's playing defense off it, against the very institution that's been profiting off her success while simultaneously downplaying her power. Let's not forget how we got here. The league finally started tasting success. Years of underfunding, lack of coverage, and ignored potential suddenly gave way to packed arenas and national broadcasts. And one of the clearest reasons for that shift? Caitlin Clark. The numbers don't lie. Her rookie season broke viewership records. Merch sales went through the roof. Cities that had never cared about women's basketball were now sold out for games weeks in advance. She had endorsements before she ever stepped foot in a WNBA locker room. And she still showed up, worked hard, and delivered. She should have been the face of a new era. Instead, she's now the face of a league-wide betrayal. Because while the cameras flashed and the fans showed up, behind the scenes it was business as usual. Owners who didn't want to give up a bigger share of revenue. Executives more concerned with power than progress. And a commissioner who, by all appearances, failed to recognize the scale of the storm heading her way. Now that storm has a name, a court date, and an overwhelming amount of public support. This lawsuit isn't just symbolic. It's strategic. It forces the WNBA to acknowledge the very thing it's been dodging for months. The league's own success has outgrown the system they built to control it. And now that players are pushing for more, that system is collapsing under the pressure. Caitlin Clark isn't demanding a handout. She's demanding a seat at the table she helped build. And for Cathy Engelbert to act like this is some kind of overreach, that's not just tone deaf. It's because here's what happens if this lockout becomes reality. The 2026 season disappears. Fans disengage. Networks pull back. Sponsors start cutting ties. Expansion teams fold before they even debut. And all the goodwill the league has built over the past 2 years? Gone. And that's not even considering the long-term damage. Because if rival leagues like Unrivaled start signing talent during the lockout, the WNBA doesn't just lose a season. It loses its grip on the sport. Permanently. You think fans will wait around while their favorite players go elsewhere? You think athletes who've been undervalued for years will come back to a league that tossed them aside the second they asked for more? No, that trust doesn't grow back. And let's be honest, Clark could walk away tomorrow and still have a career. Her name alone is bigger than the league right now. Endorsements, international play, alternative leagues. She has options, but she hasn't left. She's staying. She's fighting. And she's risking everything to force the league to change, not just for her, but for every player who comes after her. That's not ego. That's leadership. It's more leadership than we've seen from the commissioner's office in months. Because what has Engelbert actually done in the face of this breakdown? While the league spirals, while players speak out, while the biggest star in WNBA history sues her, nothing. No emergency meetings with the union. No public address. No clarity. No urgency. Just silence. Compilation 2 and silence in a moment like this is complicity. It tells players, your concerns don't matter. It tells fans, your loyalty is disposable. It tells everyone watching, we are not equipped to handle our own success. That's not leadership. That's negligence. And now, the league is out of time. The longer this drags on, the more damage is done. Every day that passes without a deal, without a statement, without a sign of progress, is another brick pulled from the foundation of a sport that finally had momentum. And if the WNBA thinks it can survive a self-inflicted collapse, they're dreaming, because fans don't wait forever. Talent doesn't stay where it's disrespected. And cultural moments don't hit pause. They move on. So, to the league, if you're still listening, this is your last chance. Clark's lawsuit wasn't the start of this. It was a result. The inevitable result of years of neglect, of dismissing players' voices, of prioritizing politics over progress. Now, the public is watching. The fans are watching. And the next generation of athletes is watching. You can't fake your way through this. Pay attention. Make a deal. Fix it. Because this isn't just about one lawsuit or one season. It's about whether women's basketball actually respects its stars, or whether it only pretends to when it's profitable. If you're still here, and you're just as frustrated as the rest of us, drop a comment. Let us know where you stand. Like this video, if you believe the players are the league. Share it with someone who still thinks this can be fixed. And hit that subscribe button. Because the truth keeps coming, and we're not letting go of this story until anyone, steps up and does the right thing.